The cowboy had spent too many nights alone under the vast Texas sky, the coyotes crying louder than his own heartache. Folks said his ranch was cursed, that no woman could stand the barren soil, the dry wind, and the silence that clung to him like a shroud. But desperation drives a man to gamble with fate, and so he sent for a mail-order bride, a woman promised by letter, a stranger to chase away the ghosts of loneliness. When the train screeched to a halt at the dusty station, his pulse rattled harder than the iron wheels. He expected a frail slip of a woman, soft-spoken, the kind he had pictured in sleepless nights. Instead, when the steam cleared, there she stood, towering, broad, twice his size, with eyes that could gut a man and lips that curved in something close to a dare. The onlookers muttered, a few laughed, his chest burned, he wanted to turn away, to claim there had been some mistake. But she was already stepping down, boots thudding like thunder on the platform, and when she spoke, her voice rolled deep and sure. "You're John McAllister," she said, not asking but declaring. He swallowed, his throat bone dry. "Reckon I am. I'm your bride." The words dropped heavy between them, and for a moment the cowboy's pride screamed at him to deny her. But then her gaze held him, steady and strange, and he realized there was no mistake. Fate had sent him this mountain of a woman, and something about her presence made the station feel smaller, the world tighter. The whispers followed them as he hitched the wagon and loaded her trunk. Folks smirked at the sight of her shoulders nearly filling the bench beside him. He didn't speak, she didn't either. The road stretched long, and the wind whipped around them like a warning. At the ranch, the silence pressed harder. He watched her step across the threshold, her size making the small cabin seem like a child's playhouse. She glanced around, unimpressed, and then she rolled up her sleeves as though she had already taken ownership. "You'll need more wood for winter," she said, "and this roof leaks." He bristled. No woman had ever spoken with such command in his home. "I manage well enough." Her eyes flicked to him, and he swore she saw through the lie. His hands bore calluses, but his cupboards were near empty. His cattle were thin, his barn half fallen. The truth was carved into every corner of his lonely life. That night he sat by the fire, hat low, listening to her move about with heavy, confident steps. He wondered what sort of woman leaves her life behind, boards a train, and steps into the arms of a man she's never met. He wondered if she saw him as weak. The thought twisted in him until he clenched his fists. When she finally settled across from him, the firelight painted her face in bronze shadows. "You didn't expect me," she said flatly. "No," he admitted. "Do I disappoint you?" The question cut him raw. He stared into the flames and couldn't find words. Her size, her bloodness, it wasn't what he had dreamed of. Yet there was something fierce in her, something alive, while he felt half buried already. "I don't know," he said, voice low. Days turned to weeks, and the ranch changed under her hands. She worked like a storm, chopping wood faster than he could stack it, patching fences with muscle that shamed him. When a bull broke loose, she brought it down with a lasso so clean he thought the animal bowed to her will. The neighbors started talking again, not with laughter this time, but with unease. They said John's new bride was unnatural, too strong, too strange. Some whispered she was trouble, that no man should let a woman carry such weight. One evening, after a long day, John found her mending a saddle in the barn. He leaned on the stall door, studying her. Hands, broad but skilled, steady in their work. "Why'd you come here?" he asked finally. She didn't look up. "Because I wanted a place where my strength wasn't shame." Her words struck him deep. He knew about shame, about hiding the hollowness inside with silence and grit. For the first time, he saw her not as a mistake, but as a mirror. Still, the battle in his heart raged. Nights grew colder, and though they shared the same cabin, they slept apart. He longed for her warmth but feared it too, feared being swallowed whole by a woman who seemed bigger than the world itself. Then came the night the raiders struck. Bandits who had been prowling the valley stormed his ranch, torches in the dark, gunfire cracking like lightning. John grabbed his rifle, heart pounding, ready to die for what little he had. But she, his bride, was already there, stepping into the chaos like a force of nature. He saw her swing an axe as though it were a twig, knocking one man clean from his horse. Another rushed her, and she threw him into the dirt with a roar. Bullets sang, and John fired, but it was her fury that scattered them, her size and strength turning the tide. When the smoke cleared, 3 raiders lay groaning, and the rest fled into the night. John stood panting, rifle slack in his hands, staring at the woman who had saved his ranch. Her chest rose and fell heavy, her eyes blazing in the moonlight. "You should have married a legend," he whispered, half to himself. She'd turned to him, blood on her knuckles, fire in her breath. "You did." The silence after was thick, and something inside him broke loose. He crossed to her, hands trembling, and before doubt could stop him, he pressed his lips to hers. She'd kissed him back, fierce and unyielding, and he felt the world shift. From that night, the loneliness that had chained him for years began to crack. She filled the cabin with her presence, not delicate or fragile, but raw and real. And though some still whispered, John stopped caring. He found himself drawn to her strength, the way she met hardship head-on. He realized he had been searching all along not for a small, gentle dream, but for someone who could stand with him against the world. Winter came hard, snow burying the ranch, but together they endured. Nights by the fire grew warmer, softer. He learned her laughter, deep and rolling. She learned his silences, patient and steady. And when spring thawed the land, the soil didn't feel so barren anymore. One morning, as the sun bled gold over the hills, John watched her stride across the pasture, her figure bold against the rising light. Pride surged in him, pride in something wilder. He realized then that he wasn't just living beside her, he was alive because of her. The cowboy who once sat alone beneath the endless sky now had a woman who dwarfed him in strength and presence, and instead of shame, he felt salvation. She was not the bride he had asked for, not the dream he had sketched in lonely nights. She was something more, something fate had carved for him with rough hands. And the man who had been afraid of her shadow now walked in it gladly, knowing it was the only place he had ever belonged. Because sometimes the West didn't give a man what he wanted. Sometimes it gave him exactly what he needed, and dared him to recognize it. And John McAllister, the lonely cowboy, finally did.